Boker Tov, good morning. It is a cloudy morning, and as we celebrate the change of the seasons at this time of year in the spring, I wanted to share a little bit about the testimony from the scriptures in Enoch, affirmed in the Dead Sea Scrolls, all throughout the Torah, Tanakh, and later, of course, in the apostolic writings in the New Testament, and also talk to you about the times and seasons and certain ordinal placement of things in the scriptures. Hang on one second, let me turn this music down here. Boy, that's an appropriate song. It says, God's not dead, he's surely alive, roaring like a lion. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Talking about the Lion of the tribe of Judah, stationed to the east of the tabernacle at the rising of the sun here this morning, prior to, of course, the rising of the sun. Now, check this out. So, in the beginning, the Father separated the light and the darkness, and he called the light day. He indeed said it was good. Day one. Day two, he separated the waters above, where the serpents and the cherubim dwell above, from the waters below. And he called that good. Then on the day three, he called the dry land to come forth from the waters below. And day four, which is what we're going to focus on today, is indeed the day he created the heavenly luminaries. And it's important to know that day begins with him. Day begins with the head of days, even that ancient of days, not as Judaism would have you believe it. At evening and darkness of night, when the man that has no understanding goes into her, indeed that harlot in Proverbs. But instead, it begins with him, the head of days, the ancient of days. And we're going to be talking about day, and we're going to be talking about night, even now. And so, while we have a cloudy day here, everybody's talking about spring. I needed to tell you, according to the testimony of the luminaries above, and of course Enoch and the apostolic writings, and indeed the birds in heaven, yes, they do know the times. We have one testifying even now. Oddly enough, my goat looked at me like I was crazy this morning when I came up here to set up this camera. He said, I am not getting up. I'm going to lay here and chew my cud, and then I'm going to complain all afternoon. So, important. Days and years, they're inextricably linked. He created the luminaries and in the heavens to mark them. Now, he said he created the greater light, not just the luminary, but the greater light. Friends, if you are in the Father, and the Father is in you, and he's the head of days, and you are a son of the day, a son of the light who does not walk in darkness, who favors clarity and brightness of morning instead of the obscurity and darkness of evening, so that proper judgment will be actually near to you, you are going to indeed shine like the brightness of the stars, not the variable phases of the moon. In the Father there is no darkness, neither shadow of turning, nor variableness, no phases. The turns and the twists and the bends, the crooked paths. So we will indeed shine and be established as a morning guard. And as I'm speaking to you now, the morning guard is taking shape. The birds are testifying. Creation is testifying in this time of the year, affirmed in the following manner, according to the fourth day of creation, begins to testify and spring forth life. So guess what? We have a high priest who did not spring forward out of the order of Aaron, but indeed he sprang forth from another tribe, the head tribe, Rosh, of the tribe of Yehudah, of which Moses spoke nothing concerning a priesthood. Now, it's a better priesthood. It's an eternal priesthood from the heavens, in the heavens and on the earth, just as the luminaries testify in the heavens, and then we witness it on earth. So he created the greater light to govern, or mark rather, the heads, beginnings, See, the word beginning is Bereshit, and then the word head is Rosh, and the word first is Rishon. So the answer is yes. We see first, head, and beginning. Oddly enough, Enoch testifies that the first quarter of the heavens is the eastern. Next is the south, over here. Second. The third is behind the eastern quadrant, where my back is facing, to the west, and the fourth, of course, is the north. So, now, check this out. If you are a son of the right hand, one facing east, Benjamin, you are to the south, this direction. Well, there we go, over here. And then there's Balad al-Sham, the land to the north, the son of the left hand, where the willful king of the north comes, to teach that unfaithful woman to turn around, to do an about face, and to come out of the lies of Babel and wash her robes. Indeed, he does that quite effectively. Facing the east, looking for that Son of Man, who is a rising star indeed out of Jacob, who waxes strong and does not wane. Folks, I'm trying to stress this terminology so you can see what not to do. Now, there's a 28-year cycle where the moon and the sun and the stars line up, and Judaism has a celebration called Birchat Chachamah, where they do, as you would expect, exactly backwards. Indeed, they say that on the fourth day, in this part, the luminaries were created, but the sun just emerged at evening. Erev. This is, of course, in accordance with them putting darkness for light, bitter for sweet, and evil for good. See, the sun did not emerge at evening. In order for there to be an Erev, that which is a waning and a growing dusky and dark, you have to have light already existing in order for that light to wane, or that luminary to go down and wane in the west, not the east, but the west. In the western quadrant, which is called the quarter of diminution, where all luminaries wane and go down. So the light didn't just magically appear at evening. It is their twisting that has their confession improper. And so the light emerged, the greater light that governs the day, and then there's the lesser light that governs the night, the stars. Now, oddly enough, when you look to the east, you see that the light waxes, grows great, and then the west, it wanes and goes down. So he gave us the greater light to govern the day, not govern really, mark the heads, beginnings first of day. Head, beginning first, east. Now the second quadrant over here in the south is where the Most High descends, and especially he who is blessed forever, even the chosen one, the righteous plant in the earth, a king established from the line of Noah, as affirmed in the testimony of the scriptures, and of course Enoch, outside of your canon. They planted him in the earth, and my father raised him up, of course, on the third day. Folks, this is not difficult. All the answers are right there in the beginning. Now, the greater light that marks the heads of days, and the tails even. One of them, the luminary, the sun, which is in every way greater than the lesser luminary, the moon, which Judaism focuses on, and again in keeping with the tradition of elevating lessers over greaters and darkness over light and tails over heads as opposed to heads over tails, emerges first in the east, is what Enoch says. First, Rishon. Now, there in the root is the Rosh, head, and beginning, Bereshit. So, first, head, beginning. I'll be using those interchangeably throughout this. Due east, the sun rises, and at the beginning of spring. Now, the world is celebrating a tail as a head. Enoch said that this would take place. Enoch said that men would err according to the 4 cardinal points of the year, the days of equal day and equal night, and they would not reckon them properly in the calculation or enumeration of the year. So while everyone is celebrating a head as a tail, I'm here to tell you today, a head is not a tail. A tail i.e. the end of the year, or the last day. So, indeed, a head is a head. Head east, tail, actually, of the whole year would be the last day, when the sun begins to, when the sun has completed its trek from the south to the north, and from that point, the sun begins to wax great as it tracks from the east to the west daily, and until it gets to that high point of the year when the sun is up all the way to the north, and the days grow longer. Then, of course, they begin to wane again. So he established these luminaries in the heavens for first, east, head, Rosh, east, first, beginning, first, signs. What will be the sign of his coming? Signs, seasons after the sign, like a stop sign is before an intersection. Then, of course, days and years. Yom Shana. Now, years repeat. They do over. That's what the root of the word means for the word year. It means to repeat or do over, to double or to fold. A 364-day year folds, and indeed it repeats. Now, if you subtract 4 days, those 4 days that men err according to, you get 360, which is where the Babylonian confession comes from. And you can look at the Birchat HaChamah celebration of Judaism and see their testimony about the moon inordinately. You can see their testimony of 360. You can see their testimony of the sun being the origin of life and millions of years, and blah, 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 blah. They do not understand days and years. They don't understand the times and seasons. The way of peace, shalom, they do not know, while saying Shabbat Shalom, peace, peace, while peace is far from them. Not discerning the times, not knowing the times. Again, on that fourth day, the Father created the greater light to govern the day, not just the luminary, but the light. Folks, we will be appointed as the greater light in a manner of a simile. We will be appointed as a greater light, shining like the brightness of the stars. We got some tough days before that. The King of the North is coming. They do not know it. I know it, because I know my Father. They do not know that he's coming. Neither can they. I tell you, it's a scary thing to put darkness for light. It's a scary thing to read right there in the beginning. In the beginning was darkness. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and not see that the Father preceded in the beginning. But they do not. The Father of lights, in whom there is no darkness, preceded the in the beginning statement. So they're looking for a light that spawned from darkness. They love darkness. They're inclined toward darkness daily, monthly, weekly, and yearly. They love it. Just ask them, they'll tell you. And that's why the Father has it reserved for them, sadly. I don't delight. Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her destruction. Shabbat Shalom, peace, will not be an acceptable vow in the face of war on every front. Do you see how wicked and crooked that is? Folks, I've done everything wrong before I got here to be right. If you are wrong yesterday, be right today. You have this day to choose whom you will serve. I am spit and clay. Do not fear me. I am for you in every way and not against you. Do you suppose that Shabbat Shalom is the proper terminology when faced with war? The King of the North is coming across the northern border with the largest international horde the world has ever seen in the entirety of world history, as we speak. That comes out of the mouth of the Jerusalem Post, the Haaretz, the Washington Post, the Little Horn, stern-faced king of fierce countenance whose appearance is larger than his associates, having insight into eyes, vision, or sight, coming across the northern border in a hashtag covenant with death, And the reply from the woman of the evening in Proverbs is Shabbat Shalom. Peace, I've paid my vows. I'm not moving. I'm going to sit right here in darkness. I'm not moving another inch. You're going to accept my plea of peace. Peace, peace when there is no peace. I'm going to stay right here planted on my rear end, sitting in darkness. Folks, what about the light that shines to those sitting in darkness? So my goat is testifying. He said, amen. See? Let everything be established by at least 2 witnesses, which brings me back to the luminaries above. So we have the greater light that governs over the day and the lesser light that governs over the night. Even the stars. That's my little goat. His name is Flash. And he's causing me to lose my train of thought. He does not care about the times. Now, there's the goat nations. The goat nations have actually appointed as a head, or actually in the midst of it, an evening wolf. A wolf of Arabah. The wolf of the Arabs to the north. The lion, who the Father in Jeremiah chapter 4 will soon send out of his thicket, having destroyed it, to the south. And he will lay the land waste. Tel Aviv, Haifa will be without inhabitants, sadly. This is not my words. Don't shoot the messenger yet. So here we are at the beginning of a year, during this time of the year, the spring, where we have Rosh, Head, Chodesh, renewal, revolutions, and the tail of the year is the day of equal day and equal night. I'm sorry, I can't, it's like fire shut in my bones. I cannot get my mind off the Middle East. Perhaps it is a direct response, an equal and just measurement for the silence I see from so many who have heard. Folks, it is death. If you have heard the warning in advance, and in fact do now see it, speak it, and in doing so, choose life. The head of the year does not begin in darkness any more than a year begins in darkness. Days and years are linked both copulatively and cumulatively in that a year is birthed out of day, and day is birthed out of my Father's mouth as a path of light, which the wicked, those who bend or twist, those who turn away to the west, facing darkness, saying light has come, those who turn away, the wicked, again, to the west, turn away from the light, turn their back on the king, facing the quarter of diminution this way and not that way, where he comes. He comes, remember the tribe of Judah was stationed in the east at the rising of the sun, it says right there. And then their land allotment just slightly to the south. Now this tree we've been looking at the whole time here, that is due east. You'll see behind it, right there, that little white thing. That's a sundial. And I recall that this tree is due east, and the luminary, if the clouds weren't there, you'd see it testifying. Faithful words, stretching a line up on the earth, a straight line even. Establishing boundaries and coordinates, jurisdictions and courses, is what Enoch says. And at this time, at the head of the year, it's important we know who our one head is. Our one head. There's one head being appointed below. Even that son of perdition, the son of destruction, who will soon be in Jerusalem, and the whore below will mount the beast fully. Al-Wahash in Arabic. No human will topple him. I told you that. A year and a half from now, it'll be a quarter of a century I've been saying this. And his hardness of heart that would cause one to turn their ear from it. My entire adult life, I don't know anything else. My entire adult life surrounds these events you see on your television. You will not get away from it. Run and hide as you may in wicked fellowships the world over. My feet have trodden the North American continent, 3 provinces of Canada multiple times. Faithful testimony has been given about what you will soon see on your ticker tape, and it will soon cost you something. The Western nations have turned their back on the Father. The light waxes. There it comes. The light waxes and grows great in the east, and indeed wanes in the west. Friends, when the world leaders have spoken out of their own mouth and spoken of the division of the land that my Father apportioned to the sons of the light, when that happens, the nations will be rent asunder. It's already done. The decrees have gone forward from the mouths. You can pray amiss if you'd like. If you do not believe my words, believe the words of the little horn. Believe the words of the willful king of Assyria, whose appearance is larger than his associates. Believe his words. He's coming for you, and he's got the largest international horde in world history backing him. This was spontaneous. I didn't write down a script. It's from the heart. Didn't even decide to do this until yesterday afternoon. I hope it blesses you. I'm for you, not against you. I've done most things wrong before I do them right. Choose this day whom you will serve, folks. I say this with a heavy heart because I know that destruction cometh. Wishing it away isn't going to help.